Okay, thank you for that. And now we move on to our next part of the meeting. It's the evaluation section. Now you're wondering, guess, what is the evaluation section of the meeting? Is there such a thing? Well, let's call our general evaluator to explain what this section is about. Let's welcome the good-looking past area director and vice president of education, Toastmaster Jude. Hola!
Hello, good evening, everyone. So we now come to the evaluation part. However, would you like to have maybe about 3 to 5 minute ladder break, maybe?
Yeah, 5 minute break, please,
Or
VPE.
5 minute break. So,
Just
Madam Timer, kindly inform me if 5 minutes has passed. And for those of you who'd like to go to the restroom, please do so.
drink
Ladder break.
water.
You of the SMG pattern wherein you were able to really close up the topic session that was accorded to you, the topic pattern, the topic that was assigned to you for that. And it was also again linked to the first speaker. Finally, we have BPM less. Your mindset changes everything. So I believe the pattern that was used was also a prep wherein the position was to an open mind. And then proceeded with the example of approaching the leader, look at the motives or the vested interest of maybe the people around you that might influence our mindset. And then to look at both the positives and the negatives so that really we can really make up our mind, because indeed our mindset will change everything. And then solid example on the fake news that has been bothering all of us. So indeed all of those things can really clutter our mind. So we have to be discerning about all of those things. And again, circling back to the point wherein we have to be open-minded, but we have to look for the facts and to think of ways to approach our leaders as well. Now, let's go to our table topics master. Toastmaster Russell, thank you for accepting this role and thank you for making it really exciting. I'm actually itching to volunteer. Unfortunately, I am not only the GE, but I'm also the table topics evaluator. So I really had to restrain myself from volunteering because from the get-go, you really had an excellent grasp of the session wherein you related it to quests and to battles and to impromptu questions. And then I like how you put in the timer wherein it's sort of like a lifeline in a game. And then the patterns as the weapons of the game, which basically for me as a possible someone who'd like to volunteer, it sort of gave me encouragement that there are these patterns that I would use. So overall, thank you for that very engaging table topic session. I hope that the next time I will not be an evaluator so that I can volunteer when you are the topics master. So ladies and gentlemen, please let's give again our table topics master and our table topic speakers a round of applause. Thank you very much. Okay, so now we move on to the prepared speeches. Okay, so for the presentation mastery level 1, confidence is key. So let's call on for the evaluation of the speech of President Pat Maliksi. Let's call on past area director, Ma'am Ching Bognot. Ma'am Ching, take it away.
President Pat, congratulations. Ladies and gentlemen, the purpose of employing body language is to enhance the speech with purposeful gestures. Let me begin with your eye contact, which you have established very well. Your delivery was natural, as no notes were read. Your hand gestures were purposeful. As a tip to all, given that we are in a virtual platform, let us ensure that the hand gestures are within the frame of the screen, meaning it can be seen by the audience. and coming from the past advice from DTMless, we may consider to be a meter away from the screen to allow for flexibility in getting near when necessary, when necessary in order to emphasize our point. Reference the structure of your speech. I suggest to use effective transitions. Transitions make the speech more effective. For example, in your speech, you mentioned a story when you were 4 years old at a church. I would suggest something like this. When I was 4 years old, I received a juice box from an old lady as I was very cheerful. The transition, you may consider saying, after 20 years, this is who I am now, keeping the same confidence and cheerfulness which have helped me being where I am now. So you see the time frame. You transition from being 4 years old to the time that you are in now. An observation and a minor suggestion, you may consider avoiding your hand combing your hair as it may cause to distract the audience towards that gesture. Your speech is effective as you presented a call to action. To further strengthen your call to action, you may consider to drop thank you. Overall, you have achieved the objective of using effective body language in your speech. Congratulations, President Patricia. Back to you, General Evaluator.
Thank you very much, Past Area Director Ching. So indeed, that was a very detailed and very important evaluation that you gave to our speaker. I think it was very effective because you mentioned at the onset the purpose of the project, which is about gestures, how it is important in making our speeches stand out. Also, uh, thank you for also mentioning the importance of the transition to make the speech very effective. And you not only gave your suggestion, but you also gave her examples as well in order to do the suggestions that you have given her. Moreover, thank you for recalling the advice of DTM Less. Yes, indeed, it is important for us to really be a certain uh, distance away from our cameras, let's say a meter away, so that we can have purposeful gesture and the gestures will not be limited by the screen space that we have. Overall, excellent evaluation. Actually, you have really captured everything. And from my notes also, I believe that there is nothing more that I can add to the improvement of the speech of our speaker. So, ladies and gentlemen, please another round of applause to our evaluator, Ma'am Ching, and to our speaker, President Pat. Woo-hoo! Okay, so we move on to two two speeches that are basically this that have the same objective, and I think to our next evaluator, immediate past President Cristina, would you like to really evaluate them both? I think you can maybe evaluate them one after the other without immediately returning it to me. So you can evaluate again Toastmaster Lois, and then immediately after you can evaluate Toastmaster Porsche. Okay, so Madam Timer, so since per evaluation is about 2 to 3 minutes, perhaps you can give immediate past President Cristina about 5 to 6 minutes for her evaluation of the two speakers. Now, again, to evaluate, as I mentioned, two speakers. So to evaluate Toastmaster Lois on her speech, A Closer Look on Leading, and Toastmaster Porsche on My Credo is My Leadership. Actually, both comes from the Innovative Planning Level 2 Project 1. Let's all welcome immediate past President Toastmaster Cristina Yung. Take it away.
Congratulations to our Secretary, Sugar Lois Abadies, immediate past Vice President for Education, for this speech. What I love about this speech was very informational. You give us several types of leadership styles. What you mentioned about 3 leadership styles that you are more into, which is telling us 3 styles is using this so-called the power of 3. So that is something what I like about your speech. Also, you started with your speech with the question, how is your leadership towards a team? You started with the question. There are only few things that I would like you to work on too. First is your vocal variety. Try to somehow, there are times that your voice is, if you want to try to put emphasis on, that you try to change your voice. Also, the transition from the leadership style, from each leadership styles that you showed us on a PowerPoint, you put try to make a transition for each. Also, I would like to suggest, there's a part in your speech when you ask, how is your leadership style towards a team? I would suggest that you make a pause so that the members or the listeners will have time to reflect, especially when you the strong opening is always will be an eye-catching for us. So the pause will be very, very important. Overall, you have achieved your objective. Congratulations, Sugar Lois Banias. Now, I'm now going to our VPPR, Porsche Maliksi. What I love about your speech is it's full of content. It's very, very rich. And the things that you really excelled at is using of PowerPoint. Also, I like the way when you use the PowerPoint with showing us quote from Mahatma Gandhi, Nelson Mandela, and these great leaders when you tell us what makes a great leader. That's one thing you excel at about the use of PowerPoint and the content, I would say. What I want you to work on too is, I want you to focus, because you started with leading ourselves with self-awareness. Then you mentioned how important vision, purpose, and integrity is. Also, you mentioned purpose, persistent, and kindness. It's for a 5 to 7 minutes speech. You have so much, you like to say so much on this speech. So I would suggest that you can focus on, it's either from the part like from the why, leading yourself to self-awareness, from that part. Also, what else? You mentioned your speech is also considered as an informational type of speech. So you didn't put so much about a personal story, which I understand. Also, transition. So this transition have to be from telling us from the what makes a great leader to your personal style of leadership, the way you transition. What I love also, what you excelled at is connecting your opening to your closing. Your closing was so strong. Let's make a change. Lead yourself to a direction where we want to go. You started with yourself, ending with yourself. That's a very good style of delivering a speech to connect your opening to your closing. Overall, congratulations also to you, public relation, Porsche Madixi. Back to you, our general evaluator.
Thank you very much, Area Director Cristina, for taking on the challenge of evaluating those two speeches. Don't worry, the reason why I assigned you to both of them is because they have the same project. So I hope it will be easier to evaluate them since they both have the same project. And of course, you were able to really do it well since you were able to really catch on to the important parts of their speeches. Like when Toastmaster Lois had a powerful opening when she started with a question. Now, the importance of starting with a question is that it really hooks your audience up into your speech. And then you were also very technical in their evaluation. You mentioned the power of the three in the speech of Toastmaster Lois and the importance of the transition in each of the leadership styles. Now, this went on into your evaluation Toastmaster Porsche, wherein you mentioned about the very rich content of the speech that she delivered. And I was really also very impressed when she presented the different quotes from the great leaders, which kinda set the tone for the rest of her speech as well. And of course, it's nice that you reminded everyone, not just our speakers, but to all our future speakers as well, to have strong closings as well. Now, the only thing that I think you may want to add on to level up your evaluation in the next time that you will be evaluating in our club and actually in the future when you visit the other clubs. One is you may want to put down your pen when you're evaluating. It kind of acted as some of a distraction because we're kind of holding onto it. Also, you may want to try to rephrase some of the statements, like when you say, I want you to, you may want to position it in the perspective of the speaker, wherein you might say that you may want to.
Okay.
In your next speech, you may want to incorporate so and so. But overall, excellent evaluation. Thank you for encouraging our speakers to really push on with their speeches. And please, ladies and gentlemen, a big round of applause to our Area Director, Toastmaster Cristina, and to our speakers, Toastmaster Lois and Toastmaster Porsche. Woohoo! And now, we go on to the last prepared speech project of today. So, this is quite a long project wherein, for those of us who are doing presentation mastery, the pathway of presentation mastery. So we will be tackling this project one day soon. So for the presentation mastery level 5 project 1, which is for us to be able to prepare longer speeches. So for the challenge of transforming lives, the evaluation of the speech of DTM Ed Ramirez, like to call on DTM Les Aquino. Sir Les.
Thank you, Toastmaster and General Evaluator Jude. Good afternoon, Toastmaster Ed. Once again, what I really love about your just how animated you are. You had gestures. You certainly had very good gestures. You showed your hands. You had eye contact. The vocal variety was there. Regarding the eye contact, I noticed that you had an attempt to look at the camera, but sometimes you had also the tendency to look at the screen. So I know this is a challenge looking at the camera most of the time against looking at the screen because we naturally have the tendency to look at our audience. So if you can still try to attempt to really look at the camera, the audience will get that feeling of having the eye contact with you. You had plenty of anecdotes, Toastmaster Ed, and what I like about your anecdotes is that they were concrete, they were many, there were plenty, and there were some times that you had some quotes. And a nice touch about the quotes that you gave is that you had them on cue cards, and that's the way to do it because that way you don't misquote the person. That way you don't forget the exact words of the person, and you're able to cite the name of the author or reference. Now, one thing to level it up, so to speak, something to work on is the clarity of the speech. At the start, it was not clear to me whether the talk is about making money or getting paid to speak. But later on, I realized it. There was an altruistic value towards speaking in the intent of transforming lives. So a little clarity on that. Another thing is that when you mentioned your son about selling angel burgers, I like the story and I like the value about the story. But you mentioned about him speaking to people about this. I didn't get that part when. How did the people react to your son, or how did they see that story? Because I certainly find value to that story about being able to help others, especially that old lady who was able to get 3 meals because of that person, because of your son. But I also wanted to see the reaction of the people when your son gave that story. Another, finally, one thing, a challenge about longer speeches like this is the engagement. When you ask a question, there was a question when you said your grandfather regretted, and it's that not being able to share his knowledge. How about asking the audience who had that regret? Because again, you want to know, especially for a long speech, is your audience still with you? But overall, very good, very engaging speech, and I look forward to your next speech. Toastmaster Ed. Back to you, General Evaluator.
Thank you very much, DTM Les, for that very extensive evaluation of the long speech of Ed. So I know that for some, it may be hard to evaluate long speeches, but of course, since you are one of our more seasoned members, it's nice that you were able to really make the task look like a piece of cake. So again, the details, the important details were there, the gestures and the vocal variety, as well as the recognition of the anecdotes that has been used. It's nice that you were also able to probably give not just our speaker, but also all of us to have this and having those quotes on hand on cue cards so that we will not be able to misquote the people that we are quoting. So that's a very, for me, that's a very important takeaway in your evaluation. Also, again, it's a good reminder for all of us to try to practicing more looking into the camera and not at the screen, because it's maybe it will take a little bit of time for us to get used to, and having that reminder in all of our meetings, in each of our meetings, will really probably help all of us in adapting to it as well. Now, more actually, there is nothing more that I can add to the evaluation. It was very detailed, and it's nice also that you remind the audience so that they will still be on board. It's a way of for the speaker to gauge the audience if they are still on board and are still following that speech. So again, thank you, DTM Les, and thank you to our speaker, DTM Ed. So ladies and gentlemen, a big round of applause, please, to our evaluator and to our speaker. Thank you very much.